The member for Morialto.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. It's a great pleasure to be able to acknowledge the Lunar New Year in this place. To everybody in our Chinese and South Asian community, those who are Mandarin or Cantonese speakers, I'd say Xin Yan Kuai Le and Gong Si Fa Sai. Happy New Year, and may this be a prosperous year, befitting the year of the wood snake, befitting the year of the snake. I hope that the resilience, the cleverness, the creativity, and for our pandas, as the member for Hyson said, the fertility that the year of the snake suggests is truly brought home to all. It was a great pleasure for me to join the member for Hyson, along with a number of other members of Parliament, the Honourable Jing Li, members of the government and members of the broader community at the Zulin Buddhist Association temple the other night to bring in the new year. It's an event that I very much enjoyed coming to year after year. It's funny because although it's some distance from the Morialto electorate, I've never been there without the experience of somebody from Rostrevor or Athelston or Newton coming up to me within the first 5 or 10 minutes of the event, expressing their appreciation that they've come. It is truly something that brings people from the Chinese community in particular and the broader Southeast Asian community together, those Buddhist South Australians who have brought so much to our South Australian experience of multiculturalism, who've added so much to our cultural and social fabric and who have helped make South Australia what is, in my view, the most successful multicultural story pretty much in the world. That expression of joy, welcoming the new year as we began the school year, as the member for Hyson said. I think the member for Hyson did a great job as the new Shadow Minister for Multicultural Affairs in expressing the Liberal Party's strong support, and indeed it is appropriate that the Parliament, that the government continues to foster multicultural success stories, especially when the communities are reaching out to the broader South Australian community to share in their expression of their faith, their culture, their history and their expression of values. I commend all of those in the Zulin Buddhist Association who did such a great job in bringing it together. The MCs were fantastic, to the Abbot, the Deputy Abbot and all of the assistant Abbots. It was very much appreciated, and I look forward to next year, but for the moment we bring in the year of the wood snake in that format. As the member for Adelaide said, we've got the Chinatown Street Party coming up this Saturday night into Wangchao, and all of the volunteers, as indeed they are in many cases, who are from the Chinatown Adelaide Association putting on that event. Can I give everybody the hot tip? If you don't have other plans on Saturday night, get yourself down to Guja Street because it is a spectacular celebration between the food and the smells and the stalls and the performances. It's a wonderful expression of culture right in the heart of Adelaide. It's something that I think everyone in South Australia would enjoy. For those members of Parliament who are honoured to be in the formalities, that's certainly a good part of the day. It's important that we express our appreciation to all those members of the community and to all of the traders and all of those cultural performers, and we should. But you don't need to be there at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. to enjoy that night. It's something that's really important that Chinatown and the traders put on together. The former Marshall Liberal government supported this work and the work of Chinatown Adelaide very significantly. I remember David Ridgway it was who opened the covering down Moonta Street that has enhanced what can be done, but indeed we all appreciate the ongoing support that the government continues to provide, has provided for a long time and continues to provide to ensure that that street festival can bring the best of multicultural celebrations to anyone who wants to visit. I think it's really important as we recognise the Lunar New Year that it is a broad celebration for many people from Southeast Asian backgrounds, and this year is a particularly important year for South Australia's Vietnamese community. It was a privilege to join the member for Hyson and other members of Parliament. I note from local government as well at the Vietnamese community's Tet Festival on Saturday afternoon. The member for Hyson, as identified, it was a hot afternoon, but it had also been a hot afternoon the weekend prior when so many volunteers from the Vietnamese community had been putting together, hand-stitching many of the decorations that were around the Vietnamese Community Association's facilities, making that outside area, which, you know, on a hot day can be a pretty significant heat zone as a car park, into indeed a covered, shaded area that looked like a piece of Vietnam transplanted into Adelaide's northwestern suburbs. And it was an extraordinary experience to be there on that very hot day, but yet thousands of people were still making their way to the Tet Festival to enjoy the experience. To our Vietnamese community in South Australia, 50 years here in Adelaide as a home away from home. On behalf of the Liberal Party, and Member for Hyson did it so well, we also express Chúc Mừng Năm Mới. It is a great celebration, the Year of the Wood Snake, for the Vietnamese community too. The Vietnamese community in South Australia has had a profound influence on the way in which we express ourselves as a multicultural community. And that community's contribution has been expressed in many different ways. The Vietnamese culture has expressed itself in not just going to Vietnamese events, but it is one of those communities whose cuisine, whose outlook, whose efforts would be, South Australia would be unthinkable without it. It's still an ongoing trauma for many people in that community that they were wrenched from their homes as a result of war and as a result of an expansionist dictatorial regime 50 years ago. And the experience of those Vietnamese South Australians and their families in the years that followed that upheaval in 1975 was profoundly traumatic. And the second and the third generation, some of whom have stories being told to them of where they have come from, it's important that they have that opportunity to know the stories, know the culture. Part of their identity as South Australians is as Vietnamese South Australians, and the stories of their heritage going back thousands of years take pride of place for them, but the stories of the reason they came here are also something that is still quite challenging, and it's an ongoing disappointment to many, of course, that is difficult for them to explain sometimes, but they do. There's a fringe performance coming up celebrating, I guess, or telling the story of Gerald Ford's sponsored airlift of Vietnamese children to escape the changes that were happening in 1975. And I'm looking forward to hearing those stories of survival and celebration of a maintenance of culture in mid-February. I think that's a tremendous show. I think it's called Handle with Care Fragile. And I hope that many members will take the opportunity to get along to see that performance. I just want to thank Quinn Tran and the members of the Vietnamese Community Association for the way that they contribute to maintaining their culture, so that not just the second and the third, but the fourth generations and those that come after can understand the stories of their heritage, can understand what it means to them to be in South Australia, that prompts a community to celebrate with songs like, as Member for Hyson said, Thank You Australia, a beautiful expression of the best of what South Australia is, the best of what Australia is, and perhaps it requires sometimes that look from the outside at what our community can be and can give for us to truly appreciate it. So I express my thanks to them and wish all members of this House, all members of our Southeast Asian community, anyone else who celebrates Lunar New Year, a prosperous, safe, happy and indeed creative Year of the Snake.
The member for Moriata reminding us again why he's known as the George Danikian of the South Australian Parliament. Hansard may appreciate if you could send up the spelling of those Cantonese and other words that you used